further afield than any rational and sane person would, given that they've just got a lunch break. But I've come all the way out to, oh my god, Zone 2, can you believe it? Because of, well, see there's some members of the press leaving there. Quite a press-worthy thing has happened. It's otherwise like quite an idyllic place. Very terrifying. Oh god, the smell of like charcoal has literally just hit me in the nose. Oh my god, that's my first glimpse of it. Doesn't have the same effect probably on film. Oh my god. I cannot get anywhere near it actually. It's where the press are, I think. This might be the closest place, I don't know. I'm going to carry on walking around. See if we can get around the other side. And literally, well, we'll have to like deconstruct this as I'm literally maybe sprinting back to the underground to get back to work. Lots of toilets. Lots of like, well, it's like a missing person centre, I guess. I just overheard a lady speaking on the telephone, and she said, what we really need is Theresa May to send the army out here. We need the army out on the streets to help. I'm not sure if it's really that bad. I'm really struggling to get anywhere near it, to be honest. The company who are responsible for the building of the systems in the first place, the maintenance of the systems, and also, interestingly, the very flammable cladding that was on the outside. They deleted part of their website, quite controversially, 4 AM in the morning while the flames were engulfing the building or whatever. God, oh, I can't get anywhere near it. It's really frustrating actually. I think there's a little garden around the corner here where I can get a better look. The company was using like really thin veneers of aluminium facing a building that was on a cladding that was actually flammable, with presumably like steel around the windows. So in a way, like steel around the windows, aluminium sheets, flammable behind. That they've created their own thermite essentially. And like a big problem is possibly that a lot of buildings like that are actually clad in sort of very basic form of thermite, which is terrible. But because this is all to do with social housing, of course, this is really going to distract the radical socialist left from concentrating on this massive problem in this town of like social housing and not people having enough money to stay in the wealthier areas and all of that. It is like going to be a massive distraction from Theresa May. So, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, when things cyclically burn and blow up, Theresa May always ends up benefiting. Hard-held social land, and there's a big sort of pressure from developers to create plush, unaffordable luxury apartments. And from the time I found out about this was actually when I got home after filming yesterday, so I didn't know anything about it when I was making my film yesterday. It was only when I got home that I realised that it happened, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And if you want, here is a form of purist philosophy on why stuff like that happens. Social housing obviously is a form of rent control. It means that people from poorer backgrounds, if they developed in that area, they can stay there because they create an artificial value of the land, if you like. And this enables poorer people to stay in a wealthier area, like Kensington. Now, I personally don't think that, you know, people from poorer backgrounds, like myself by the way, should be forced out of a city just because they get outpriced. However, it would be natural for that development to happen. I mean, if you can't afford to live in an area, you can't afford to live in an area. And gradually, as cities expand, they, of course, quite naturally start to push the wealthy in towards the centre and the less wealthy towards the outskirts, which is basically the way it's been for century after century after century after century. The farming folk live in the outskirts, the city folk, the financiers, etc., live in the centre. Now, in terms of like, was this done on purpose? Well, you could say that in terms of like massive conglomerate property developers, because they don't really give a crap about anybody apart from the dollarino. That's what they care about, the pound, the value, the money, and everything else is just like a pretend facade of like customer relations and tenant management and all of that stuff. What's really happened here is that when the building was refit, the company involved, because of the rent control, based on how much they should be spending on a building like that, normally the rents would be high enough to actually pay for it. But because it's a form of social housing and the rents are therefore artificially lower, being paid by a council at an artificially low price, the developers of course have to start cutting corners because they can't actually operate on such a small budget. Weirdly enough, when accidents like this happen, or whether it was an accident, who knows, it is of course going to force all developers into spending money that you could say they can't afford or isn't within their budget. And you see, although it's tragic and the whole thing of social housing is tragic, in a way it's only happened because there's been an unnatural scenario of rent control in an area that actually the buildings should be much more expensive and have much more money spent on them. I'm not sure if that made sense. Hopefully it did. Let me know and I'll see you tomorrow.